I actually forgot his name now. Gordon something. Gordon's been so long. I can't. Something to do with whiskey. Gordon Port. Gordon Dundas. Here he is.
Oh,
I almost forgot you.
Well, yeah, we need to. I think we just need to say to everybody, look, we are pretty busy with our day jobs at the moment, so getting together in the same place is quite difficult, and we will be pressing on and hopefully do things a little bit more regularly. But yeah, it's been a little bit of time.
Gordon, Whisky Unscripted, Season 8, Episode 2. Episode 1 was January. We're now putting this out on International Women's Day 2020.
Hey!
And we
Fantastic.
have coming up 2 sensational interviews with 2 amazing women within the whiskey industry.
And there are many of them, and they are growing, and it's great to see.
So we're going to talk about that forthwith. And I'm tempted to ask, what are you drinking? But before I do, where have you been for the last couple of months?
It's been pretty busy. I was in, my major trip was I was in Dubai for, I think for about 49 hours I was in Dubai for. We were out there doing a whiskey show in Dubai. So if you think about Dubai, obviously it's a market which is actually quite important for whiskey. Obviously, you can't call a whiskey show in Dubai, so you have to call it Malt Live. So we're out doing that, which was an interesting first show, and good to see a really important market. Lots of people flying through Dubai, so travel retail is important as well.
Travel retail, is it, Gordon? Mostly.
It was domestic as well. So there's a lot of people who drink and buy whiskey in Dubai. So yeah, that was good. And we've been just been doing lots and lots of things with things that are going on in certain markets. So very exciting. How about yourself?
Aberdeen. I have to give a shout out, as they say in these radio stations. A wonderful couple of days in Aberdeen, Gordon. It maybe has seen better days when the oil was sloshing around there much better, but my goodness, what a tasting we had in the grill. Do you remember a previous podcast episode? We're in the grill. Well, I returned to the grill to do a Cam
No, it's a great bar.
Oh, that's just what a whiskey. These great whiskey bars of the world, the grill, Pot Still, Bonaccord, and plenty down south.
Many of them. The Bow Bar. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always good to support these guys because they do such a good job. And, you forget how important it is that they understand our products because they're the personal recommendation guys. How many times do you see a guy walking into a bar or a lady walking into a bar and going, oh, I really fancy a whiskey, but I want something different. What should I have? And they go, well, you should try this or try that.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So a couple of days around Aberdeen. It's a great city, I have to say. And Stockholm, we'll come to Cinderella shortly. We'll talk about that cruise. And also, you can forget Lucinda Russell or Willie Mullins. I was training in Cheltenham last week.
You were training in Cheltenham ahead of the festival, which I believe is the week after next.
Now, Cheltenham, just for those that don't know, is a horse festival, racing horses. Lots of trainers, jockeys, and the public will be there. And so will we behind the bars with various bodies.
There's an interesting stat about Cheltenham. There's a lot of Irish come over from, obviously, Ireland for Cheltenham. And the whole of Cheltenham gets taken over by the Irish. And there's a Guinness tent at the Cheltenham Festival, and I think it's the biggest grossing single event sale of Guinness in the world.
That is brilliant. What a fact. That is what a stat. So all the Irish in there getting their Guinness in this tent watching the horses. The money generated must be not just there, but
huge.
For the 5-day festival. Just amazing.
Huge.
So
huge. So
it was great. What a place down there. Thoroughly enjoyed my so that's our trips, Gordon. That gives us time to discuss what you're drinking. And I'm drinking something that you might drive past it next week.
Oh, yes. Explain.
I am drinking Thompson Brothers. They of Dornoch. And they've got themselves independently bottled Caol Ila 9-year-old Octave.
Yes, nice. Well, I am off to Arran and Islay next week. I'll explain to everybody why. So in celebration of that, I am drinking one of my favorite Islay whiskies. One that I think I've always enjoyed is a Bowmore 15 Darkest.
Oh,
Classic whiskey.
okay.
It's now just finished in sherry. Beautiful, beautiful whiskey. So I'm just having a little sip on that. Very nice. Very nice.
This will be ahead of the Islay.
Yeah. So
Festival,
I'm the reason I'm going, and I'm at the mercy of Cal Mac. And for those of you people who do not know Caledonian McBrain, it's like a ferry service but different. I think they just basically every morning wake up and try and find a boat that might be able to do a ferry to somewhere. There's no real schedule. It's fairly shambolic, and yeah, just yeah. So we're going to Arran first. So we're in Arran for a night, and then we go to Islay for a couple of days. The reason we're doing it is two things. We produce, and you and I love this, and I strongly recommend people seek it out, a wonderful whiskey called Six Isles.
yes,
Which is a blended malt, light in colour, and it does exactly what it says in the tin. One of those things in whiskies that, it is a whiskey that is a blend of malts from 6 different islands, 2 of which are Arran and Islay, the others being Jura, Mull, Skye, and Orkney. And so we're going to do a little bit of brand work, I think would be the way to describe it, on Arran and on Islay, and then obviously we're building a distillery on Islay with the Islay boys, so I'm going to have a little look at that and see where we're at with that.
Do you know where we
So
are?
that's yeah, there's a frame up and there's lots of different things. So anybody coming to Fife Shield this year, on the Monday of Fife Shield, that's going to be Monday the 27th, I think that is, of May. I've got the right date. That's incredible. I'm going to be on Islay. I'm going to be there at the site opposite the airport. So do drop in and find out about Lagan Bay.
So you literally were at the side of the road opposite the airport. Get
Pretty much.
Come on in. Oh, that's amazing. So there'll be
Yeah.
That will be the first sort of Lagan Bay day. It's not quite, but
Not quite, but yeah, it'll be the first sort of come and find out about Lagan Bay if you want to. You can come and listen to me talk about it if you want to. And we should be quite a long way down the road. We're hoping Lagan Bay will be open next year, so that's exciting.
that is amazing, Gordon. That really is amazing. And of course, we've got a small detail of the Speyside Festival before you get to the Islay Fife Shield Festival, and that's the first weekend of May. So it's the beginning of the month.
Yeah, so let's go around our distilleries and tell everybody what we're doing. So we've got Spirit of Speyside from about the 1st of May to the 5th, I think, isn't it? And as ever, Tamdoo's sold out very quickly. Gordon will be doing tours on Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
And we will be doing a very sold out sort of blending, understanding sherry cask day on the Thursday, which is, it's always a good 3 days up at Tamdoo, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's like people get the golden ticket to come in, and part of the chat when I'm up at the grill or anywhere doing Tamdoo talks, the question always comes up, why aren't you open for the public? And I say, well, it's just not designed, set up. It's just not that. There's other people that are doing it up there. But my goodness, when it is opened, if you can get the golden ticket, come along in the first week in May, and it's just sensational. We really do roll out the red carpet for them, and it's just, I'm excited because I don't really go up there very often, so it's great fun to take people around and
oh, it's brilliant, and like, I mean, it's one of the things is we are not set up for it, so things do sell out very quickly, and a lot of people want to come and see the distillery, and we'd love to do more, but we just can't. So the only other way you can get into the distillery would be to join the Dedication Society, which you just join online at the website. A lot of advantages for joining that society, but we do a sort of day in August where we open up the distillery to members of the Dedication Society. So that's the other way to get in.
And there's so many people trying to get in there. It's a ballot now. It's taking place, but you can be
we
lucky.
Can't do it any other way. Yeah,
you can be lucky. When we're going to track down, and we will track him down, George McNeil, chairman of the Spirit of Speyside Festival, who gave us a great interview at the Caol. Was it the gala dinner? No, it was the Caol night. So we're going to try and track George down because the opening night gala dinner and the Caol will be held this year at Macallan.
Yes, Macallan. It's the Macallan's 200th anniversary, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
This year, 1824. Congratulations to them. So we're going to be at the Callan on the Wednesday night for the opening dinner. I think the Cayley's the Friday night, is it?
Is it Friday night? Yep, yep.
I think it's the Friday night. Because on the Thursday night, I am doing with another. See, there are other whiskey podcasts out there.
We do know them.
There's one called particularly Not Another Whiskey Podcast, which is run by friends of ours, Mitch and Nick Polacki. We're doing a Battle of the Ambassadors on the Thursday night. So I'm going to be at that on the Thursday night. So it's going to be a good few days up in Speyside.
Get yourself up there. If you're rattling around anywhere in the UK or the Europe or wherever, come across the Speyside. Transport can be an issue, but listen, you're all friends and you'll jump in a taxi with strangers if you've all been to the distillery and you generally get home and go to a bar. It's great fun. Which leads on, by the way, Gordon, to Macallan. If we can just stay with that theme of International Women's Day, one of the women in whiskey, and there's not a great deal of them from the past. We'll talk about ones in the present, but not many in the past. But one of them is Macallan. And her husband was the managing director who died in post. And Nettie, or Janet Harbinson, took over Macallan 1926. And her story is sort of immortalised in a 8-minute movie, filmed beautifully on the estate, Easter Elkie's estate, directed by the man that directed Four Weddings and a Funeral, and Donnie Brasco. Mike Newell directs. Simple Minds put together a sensational track, very evocative of her young age, and a host of stars like Jonathan Pryce in there as well, a Bond villain. Jonathan Pryce is in there, and it's just a great 8 minutes about this woman who was offered money to relinquish the control of Macallan, but refused, and in 1926 stepped up to the plate, and she is crucial to the Macallan story. I mean, really, the fine and rare and the old casks getting laid down. Janet was a linchpin, they were saying, in that story. And I can't recommend The Spirit.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Where can people watch that?
That is on YouTube. 1926. The Spirit of 1926 on YouTube, 8 minutes long, and it's sumptuous. It's like, it is a movie. They've got movie directors, movie stars, and the whole thing is just a joy to watch. And it's all based, it is true. And in fact, the chap that wrote it, it was his great grandmother, or he was related to Janet Harbinson, and he is also a professional Hollywood screenwriter. So it's one of the only ones, Gordon. And we had another lady mentioned a few series ago from Lafroig.
Bessie Williamson.
Yes,
absolutely. Bessie, I mean, very similar story. Bessie, she became the owner of the distillery. I think it was left to her, I think. And critical in terms of setting Lafroig up to what it is these days. And, she then realized a bit later on in her tenure that she could only take it so far and passed it on. But she built the base, she did all the things that make Lafroig what it is now. So hats off to her as well.
And just before we hear another wonderful lady in the whiskey, Juliette, I was looking at some of the stats. Depending on what website you read, one urban website was saying 40% of whiskey consumers in the US are women. I was reading another website that said 35% of whiskey consumers in the UK are women as well, and increasing. So not only in the consumer side, but Gordon, there's some great ladies and women in the world of whiskey production, as well as marketing and front facing.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. And you see, firstly, from our side of the industry, many, many more women blenders, many, many more women selling whiskey, many more women doing what we do, which is fabulous. It's refreshing. It's great. And then that, I think, is reflecting on the fact that there's more women wanting to drink whiskey. Less is more, so you drink less, but drink good whiskey. That's definitely occurring. And power, absolutely fabulous news. And even people like the work that Becky Paskin's done with our Whiskey Foundation. I'm a mentor as part of that, and I've mentored some wonderful women who have gone on to do great things, and they're not as a direct result of me, but it's just great to be involved in things like that as well. And all these things make that little bit of difference. So, and all the best blenders are women.
Yes, that's right.
Don't tell John that.
Stephanie McLeod, Stephanie McLeod's one, isn't it? Emma Newton, ours as well.
Rachel Barry, there's many
Rachel
of them.
Barry.
Gillian MacDonald, many of them.
So it's wonderful. Let's go to the Baltic. Let's go to the good ship Cinderella and speak to Juliette Buchan, who is quite a character out there on the road. Has been traveling for 14 years. And I never mentioned it in the interview, but she did set up the sort of WhatsApp or the messenger group for the ambassadors that we all use.
Which really it's great, but becomes a bit of a travel thing. Oh, bloody hell. But yeah, no, that's great. And she obviously works for Glenallachie. She used to work for Gordon MacPhail. She's at Glenallachie. Now, Glenallachie in the last week have gone through a transformation. Last couple of weeks, they've repacked. So look out for the new repack. I quite like it. I think it's a little bit different to what they had. Yeah, no, she's making a bit of a career move, isn't she?
She is. And if you've been to any whisky festival and you've seen Gordon MacPhail or Glenallachie in the last 14 years, chances are you spoke to this lady. Here we go. Juliette, here we are. And well, maybe you could paint the picture of where we are for our listeners.
Well, I'm not a great painter, but I'll try my best. We're on a cruise ship, a whiskey cruise, so it sounds wonderful. It's not that that wonderful. No, it's good. It's fun. 3 days of cruise and fare on the deck.
And we're sitting where we are, deck 8, looking over the Stockholm harbour.
Yeah.
So it's lovely. How's it been in the last 2 days? Tiring?
Tiring, yeah, but busy and exciting. And I've been. I think it's my 5th time.
I think so as well. I think five times.
The novelty is.
Yes, now we're going to get this. We've been wanting to get on the podcast for ages, Juliette. I wanted maybe to come up to Elgin and have a chat. We still will, because you're at Glenallachie and you've got your own tap room. But there's something rather special about this festival.
Well, it's called Cinderella, and it's my last ball.
That's exactly it.
Yes. So last ball because I'm changing position within Glenallachie after about 14 years traveling. So I thought it was time to put the suitcase away for a bit and focus on my life in Elgin and then Glenallachie Distillery.
So you 14 years on the road effectively. This is your last one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
officially
you'll be called in, I imagine, to help out places, but officially this is the last one. What a way to bow out. But my question to you is, do you remember your first one?
Oh, yes, I do actually.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I do.
A significant first.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was in France. I think, well, that's really how I got into it as well, into the travelling, being French. I was working at Gordon MacPhail at the time. They pulled me in to help at Whisky Live in Strasbourg. And if you've never been to Strasbourg, it's a beautiful city. So I just went with my manager at the time, Derek Hancock. And I remember really well because we arrived late to the hotel, and in the morning I was so eager. I just got up at 7 o'clock, went walking, and he was panicking because he couldn't find me for breakfast. So I was asking around everywhere where I was, but I was just, having a wander.
And that's 14. That was 14 years ago.
That would have been about 14. Yeah, 2009, I think. So I started at Gordon MacPhail in 2007.
Which is my other question: is how did you get into whiskey? We talk about whiskey journeys. So how did you get into whiskey, Juliette?
Through the back door. It was a long journey, but no, I actually trained as a teacher. So I'm a language teacher by trade. But I just realised it wasn't my calling, I'd rather work a bit harder but have fun along with.
And this was in France for you.
So that was actually in Scotland. So I came to Scotland when I was 22. Fell in love with a country. So I was due to stay for about 10 months, and I ended up staying on and off. But it's about 25 years or more. I stopped counting, but fell in love with the country, then fell in love with my husband, and ultimately, but last, was fall in love with the whiskey.
Was it Gordon MacPhail, the first job?
The first job was Gordon MacPhail, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And just, I'm sure people listening know Gordon MacPhail, but paint a picture. Who, where, what are they?
So they're based in Elgin. It's a fantastic company to work for, independent bottler. So fantastic company as well, because you learn about every type of whiskey, every distillery. They had and they still have a massive portfolio. So rather than focusing on just one single brand or one single distillery, you get to know a bit about everything. And it was fantastic, especially at the time. We would, especially in Sweden, actually open some 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. It was common. So I would come to Sweden and have long tasting.
And your job at the time officially was?
So the very first job was actually into logistic, and then I moved into the sales position in 2009, so about 2 years after. So it was a gradual move, and just loved every minute of it.
And in those days, Juliette, and I speak as somebody who's got 2 girls as well, what was the landscape like for women? In whiskey?
Not the easiest. Not the easiest. I mean,
you were travelling, were you often one of the only?
Yeah, well,
would that be fair?
I was one of the first, not maybe the only one. I mean, I remember Anne Miller was on the go. She was travelling, I think, but she was really kind of the only one in the light of the whiskey industry. And yeah, it was tough because people were judging you. Being a woman and being a mother. So not only I was a woman, I was a mother, so who is looking after your boys while you're away. It was one of the questions, and you were always challenged about...
So did you get that question?
Oh yeah, very often, and that was horrific. But the most common question is, and I still get it today, is, but do you drink whiskey? So I think that's a weird question, but the second question...
I don't think I've ever been asked that.
But the second question comes after is even worse, because it's, okay, you drink whiskey, but do you like it? And so, yeah. So I think that the industry's changed now, and it's a bit easier, and we've paved the way for women to come into industry. And I think if you look around nowadays in terms of ambassadors or people understand, there's a lot of women. There's at least half of them are now women. So it's refreshing. It's good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Sort of almost a pioneer in that respect as well. So Strasbourg was the first one. Cinderella is officially the last one. Between then and now, highlights. You've travelled extensively over Europe. We talked a few months ago. Just how many Paris lives have you done?
Too many.
Any highlights?
Highlights,
or
yeah.
Lowlights? Give us we always like a good story.
Oh, lowlights, yeah. I mean, lowlights is the pickpocket, the late night, the missed flight, the delayed flight, all this kind of stuff.
I always think it's something we never put on our social media feeds. We always put the happy times or in front of happy people, but not the missed flights.
Yeah, well, you always have to portray a happy life, and we are loving the job we're doing. If not, we wouldn't have done it, because it's long hours, but it's also very rewarding. But there are difficult times. You're tired. You've got to get up early, wake up.
Silly o'clock.
Yeah, silly o'clock to go to bed, and sometimes you also have to spend time on a stand or at a show with people a bit over the edge.
Shall we say?
Yeah.
Yes. Tired and emotional. Another word to express. So, pickpocket you mentioned.
Pickpocket, yeah.
Wow. Tell us that one.
Oh no, a rookie mistake, but Athens. So be careful. But yeah,
on the underground, it's always a
you might be. Yeah, you feel you experience. You think you experience, but there's always mishaps along the way. But one of the highlights, I think, for me still, it's actually not Europe. It was South Africa in 2010.
Right.
So that was fantastic. Two shows, Cape Town and Johannesburg. So 1 week apart, and in between we actually were invited by the importer to a safari. So that was a massive perk of the job, and it was a wonderful time.
And that's part of the job as well, as getting on with the importers and developing those relationships, which I know you do so well.
Well, thank you. No, I try. Well, I like people. So if you like people, is half the battle.
And that would be one other question. If someone's listening to this right now and thinks, maybe I'm a young woman, I would like to get into this world. Is it a world they can get into, and would you recommend it? And any bits of advice to the young Juliette as well?
To the young Juliette, just trust yourself. If you like people, if you get on with people, then it shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, if you like whiskey, that helps, but that you can learn along the way. It's just being genuine and really supporting the people you work with.
Mm-hmm. But I've also seen your travel schedule. I mean, some of the travels you were doing back to back. Just give us one of the more busier times when you had to move from city to city. Anything that you can draw on from?
Yeah, you have to be resilient. You have to be strong, mentally and physically.
That's for sure. A couple of times I was arriving in a place and you just come from
somewhere else,
and been somewhere else before that as well.
Yeah. Well, the problem I have, challenge I have is also staying in Elgin is quite difficult because everywhere you go, you at least have 2 flights. You an hour and a half away from Aberdeen Airport for a start, and then you've got 1 flight to either London, Amsterdam, at the time Paris, but that's no longer even exist. So everywhere you go, it's a day travel. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe not as easy for somebody living in Elgin or for this reason on Islay or Orkney or something like that, than somebody living in London or living in Edinburgh or Glasgow, where there's a bit more direct flight and you can maybe spend a bit less time travelling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you've been through a few lounges in your time and a few late departures.
Yeah, and again, it just loses its charm.
So give us a top 4 or 5 festivals out there, because people make holidays based from around it. You know, what would Juliette's top 4, top 5 festivals?
Paris is great, but Paris is big. So if you're new to a whiskey festival, I would say maybe just try Lyon in France as well. So that's kind of nice and easy festival, and nice city. I also very much enjoyed Lucerne. So Lucerne, again, on a boat, so we seem to like water. But Lucerne is fantastic. Again, small enough festival, 3 days, long hours, but very, very good for consumer. Very much enjoy Bratislava as well.
Oh, right.
It's very small, but the town itself is fantastic. The people are great. Hungary, Budapest. I mean, there's so many festivals to go to and to make a holiday out of it. Yeah,
and just to bring us a wee bit up to date, Juliette, I know we've got to go and do some work soon. You mentioned about a new job, a new challenge. What is it?
Yeah, so there was an opportunity at Glenallachie as a brand home manager. So in a nutshell, I'm just going to oversee the running of the visitor centre, and we have obviously we offer tours, we have a shop, and we have a bar as well. So it's kind of putting together all the skills that I've acquired along the way.
Really exciting. And just again, a word about Glenallachie. When did you join it? That's terrible as a person asking questions. We had you at Gordon MacPhail. We often a tour of Europe there, but you move on to Glenallachie.
Glenallachie, I joined not straight from the beginning, but 2019. So 2019 February. So it's going to be 5 years. I joined as sales manager, and it's been a wonderful journey. We've launched the new range. We've launched as well a blended malt, McNair's, some rum. We've launched White Heather as a blended whiskey, and lately Micheltor, so a peated single malt from Glenallachie. So it's been very busy. It's been excited. And I think it's just time to,
it's gonna be great.
In a way, kind of slow down a bit and get people to come and see me rather than me going to see them.
That's fantastic. And of course, we're heading towards the Speyside Festival in May of this year, when the eyes of the world are on Speyside.
Yeah.
And when do you take your post?
2 weeks from now, 26th of February. So, and I've kind of started to look into the Spirit of Speyside Whisky Festival. We've put a plan together. So we've got different types of tours. We've got a blending session with Billy Walker. We have a sherry and whiskey session as well. And also we will run usual tours. So if you haven't booked, just go and book either through the Spirit of Speyside website, or also you can book through our own website, glenallachie.com, for normal tours.
And 25 years old, the festival.
And 25 years old, yeah.
You know, so
yeah,
it's
it's going to be a big one. It's going to be fantastic. It's always good fun to be there.
You're going to be right in the heart of it. Come on, I just think having that creativity of what you can put on, not just at the festival, but as a home experience. What type of tours and all that? It's going to be your
totally.
decision.
And we've got a new bar, so we've got a nice space as well. So you can just pop in and have a couple of drams. We'll offer tastings. And tutored drams. So
yes. So that it is what you could say at the end of a era, closing of a chapter, but opening of a very exciting one.
I hope so.
14 years on the road, Juliette.
Yeah, 14 years on the road, 17 years in the industry. So I'm not stopping.
No, of course not.
I'm just going a bit. Yeah. I'm just changing role, changing position, but I'm still here. You'll still hear from me.
Of course, you're going to be back on this show again, because we'd like to get up there and see the tours and see the tap room as well in Glengoyne, which I know you're very passionate about up there as well.
Yeah, so my husband and I, we invested in a local tap room in 2020, I believe. I've lost track, 21 maybe, just after the pandemic. Well, yeah, so just wonderful craft beer shop and tap room.
Yes.
And we really I pushed a selection of whiskies, so now you've got some fantastic drams as well. All the drams that I actually try when I travel around.
Yeah. What a knowledge you've built up over these years. I know that experience cannot go to waste. So if you're anywhere near Elgin, you've got a lovely tour and a tap room to go into as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Juliette, we could talk for a while, but
we've got to work.
We've got to work. Many congratulations on the new position, and for 14 years. We salute you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juliette.
Thank you, Gordon.
So full marks to her. She's fabulous, knows her whiskey. She'll do hugely well. How was Cinderella?
It was, I think the word is tiring, but it's great fun. It's one of these whiskey festivals. Last year was a couple of guys from Scotland come over for a holiday. I didn't see many consumers from Scotland or the UK, but it's a great fun. It is. You finish the fair, you go upstairs, there's music and dancing, and the ambassadors ourselves are tucked away in another bar.
Yeah.
And it's good, Gordon. It's great. And as we will hear in another interview from Emma Anderson, the editor-in-chief of the Swedish Whiskey magazine, the number of Swedish distilleries now and the good whiskey coming from Sweden has added another level onto that. So it was wonderful to go around and had a wee chat with some of them, a taste of some of their whiskies, and they're good whiskies. So that's added another level to the festival.
Great.
Which I think
fabulous.
Gordon,
good. Yeah.
You're gonna have to sit down for this one. I know you are, but we've had correspondence.
Have you been inundated with emails?
Yes, I actually haven't checked my Facebook for a while, but we have been inundated. And it's our good friend Ronnie from Broxburn Bottlers.
Ah, yes.
Who technically is a colleague. But listen, let's say it's a correspondence. Now, do you remember, you weren't critical, you raised an eyebrow about the word Fife being on the label of Inchdearney. Is that right?
I just was like, yeah, a little bit, because I haven't read the rules recently, but I was like, Fife's not a region of Scotch whisky production. So I was like, how can that be if that's not within the SWA rules? So that's really all I was questioning.
That's right. And Ronnie loves that because his role is he is the HMRC compliance officer. So he knows all about labels. So here he goes. He says, Gordon, Fife single grain Scotch whisky is all good. So long, of course, as it's distilled in Fife at a single distillery, obviously.
Right.
However, single grain Fife Scotch whisky is not allowed because the Fife interrupts the whisky category.
Right. So it's because Fife is first.
Correct.
Fife so could you, in theory, then do and this is me, Ronnie, you might have to come back to this now. If we were to do a Dumbartonshire single malt whiskey.
Looking at the email, as long as it does not interrupt the category, if it's before the category of single grain or blended Scotch or single malt, I think you can put that on the label. He also goes on he's just tantalizing us here with this one. He says, did you know there is a move to have Scottish rye whisky as a new product category, which will be interesting to see what the SWA make of that.
Now you see that that's an interesting one, because Scottish. If you look at the categories currently, there's 4, right?
Yep.
There's blended whiskey, which we know is grain whiskey blended with single malt.
Yeah.
There's blended malt, which is a blend of single malts in one bottle.
Yep.
Then you have single grain, which is the product of one distillery, a grain whiskey, and there's the last one is, of course, single malt, so product of one distillery, 100% malt. So that's the categories as they stand. If you were to get a Scottish rye, or would it be a single rye? Would it be a blended rye? Would it actually have to be 100% rye?
Yeah. On that point, Ronnie says there is a problem with the mash bill, because you will probably have to have some malted barley in there to help with the enzymes for mashing.
Yes.
Could you explain that one, Gordon, for anybody listening to this rather geeky conversation? But it is important.
It is very important. So if you just if you're producing grain whiskey in a column still in Invergordon distillery, let's say, you'll probably use either wheat or corn as the main grain, but you actually need some malted barley in there, because malted barley is full of enzymes that convert starch to sugar. That's basically what it does. So even in a mash bill in America, where you make bourbon, there's malted barley in there because you need the enzymes. If you make a 100% rye whiskey, 100% grain is rye, you need to add enzymes to make that process work. And it's all about something called diastatic power. And that's what barley has over many other grains. It allows that. So you need barley a lot of the time, or you have to add enzymes. So therefore, that point about being 100% rye, most ryes will either have to have some malted barley in there, or you have to add enzymes.
You're absolutely right. It says, in reality, you need a mash filter and a hammer mill to get into a decent state for fermentation. It tends to mash into a porridge rather than a liquid. If that's 100% rye.
There are challenges. And even, we talk about, people using different types of barley, and, beer barley and things like that. Bruichladdich use beer barley. I know, for example, there's a lot of problems with that, because it's quite different process, and your yield goes down. All these things will happen with rye as well, and other grains if you distill them in a sort of batch distillation. So there's lots. We've suddenly gone quite geeky, but ultimately, what I'm trying to say is malted barley is really, really important across the board for enzymes to create sugar, basically, to break down starch into sugar.
And this is a desire for maybe just something different on the shelves. There's so many whiskies getting released now, and I was just speaking to one of their sales staff who something like it's just the first time in the UK there's been under 1 million outlets for selling to, because of the hospitality cull that's happened through some of the pretty awful laws passed in recent years for the hospitality. So we've got more product and less shelves to sell into.
That's very true.
You're trying to look for differences here. But Gordon, did you say it's a challenge earlier on? You did mention the word challenge.
Yeah, I love a challenge.
We're going to have the Fife Challenge. I think there's more distilleries in Fife than there is in Campbelltown. Now, you don't know this question was coming. Play along at home, folks. The Fife lineup. And Fife, by the way, just to give you time to think, I have fun facts about the Kingdom of Fife.
No, it was the Fife Whisky Festival last week as well.
Yes, I was on it. I was going to try and get them on to have a wee chat about it. We might try and do that at some point, but that's two women. Is it Hazel and Karen that run the Fife Whisky Festival?
And Somerville, yeah, absolutely.
There we go. So, Kingdom of Fife has always played an important role in history. Gordon, here's some facts. Chariots of Fire's famous opening scene was shot in St Andrews, West Sands Beach. Dunfermline was Scotland's capital between the 11th and 15th centuries. The Anstruther Fish and Chip Bar has won the UK Best Fish and Chip Shop 2008-2009. I think it's done it since. Andrew Carnegie, ending listening in America, you'll know Carnegie Hall. He was a billionaire industrialist born in Dunfermline. And the tennis court in the United Kingdom is at Falkland Palace, built in 1539 for James V. And finally, Johnny Cash had family ties to the Fife village of Strathmiglo, which inspired the singer to film a TV special at Falkland Palace. There we go. There's facts.
Really?
Yes, Johnny Cash at Falkland Palace, Stuart's seat of power for a lot of the 15th and 16th centuries, when the oldest tennis court in the UK is. So, Gordon, I've tried to buy you time. You are going to do Mr. Dundassy's Fife Whisky Special. How many whiskies are we drinking, by the way? How many glasses?
I had to name 5 distilleries, yeah?
Yes.
There's firstly the Weems family, with King's Barnes, which is pretty much in St Andrews.
That's a nice whiskey, Gordon. They're doing.
Yeah, no, they do some really nice stuff. Nice whiskey, yeah.
And a lovely the Ducot, isn't it? They've got the Ducot whiskey. So
yeah, so that's the first one. That's probably what, close to 10 years old now, I think. King's Barnes.
Yes,
as a distillery, I would think. Daft Mill.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping you might forget that one. Daft Mill is a small farm distillery.
Yeah, in St Andrews. Is it in St Andrews?
It's close by.
No, sorry, I'm thinking of Eden Mill there. But Daft Mill.
Eden Mill.
Yeah, so Eden Mill is in St Andrews. Daft Mill is a farm distillery
in Cooper,
and near Cooper, and produce these very sought after releases. Very nice whiskey. And is it Francis, the man who runs it? I think it's Francis. It might not be. I'm not sure. Anyway, how many is that?
You've got 3. So we've got 3 whiskies so far. I've got 3 glasses. Is that all the glasses I'll need?
No, there's a few others, I think. Lindor's Abbey. You've been to Lindor's Abbey.
Oh, Lindor's Abbey, just on the banks of the River Tay, in the middle of nowhere, really. It's
yes. So what's the history of that place again? Very historical.
Very historic. Yes, I've visited it. I've got some photographs before the distillery.
I know you did.
And yeah, it's the first written evidence with a tax register of King James IV that the monks there, under a certain friar or brother John Corr, was making spirit called aqua vitae, water of life, from malted barley. And that's the first written evidence. Regardless of what the Irish say, annals and sort of references to the Norman conquests of Ireland, but that first written evidence. So Lindor's makes a big play of that one. Sort of, you could call it the birthplace of Scotch whisky in Scotland. You could call it that.
Okay.
But anyway, so
how many is that? 4.
I've got 4 glasses, Gordon.
I can't forget Inchdearney, because we've just been talking about it. That's the distillery producing that rye whiskey at the moment, in that beautiful
5
bottle.
glasses. So is that 15 minutes a glass? So about here within an hour and 10 minutes.
One more I can think of is Cameron Bridge.
I was hoping you'd forget that one. And that's it, Gordon. There are 6 in Fife. Cameron Bridge.
Is that it?
That's it. As far as I know, 6.
So Cameron Bridge, for those who don't know, is not a single malt distillery, it's a single grain distillery. So that produces a lot of grain for, obviously, trading and for blends. It's a Diageo distillery, is it?
Yes.
I think it is. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Diageo also have a lot, they're big archives in Fife as well.
I was hoping you might forget the single grain one there. So Fife, Gordon, that has got more distilleries than Campbelltown.
At the moment, yeah, although there's a lot planned in Campbelltown. So that's it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Fife is producing some good stuff as well. So yeah.
Good. Well, good. That's great. That 5 challenge, that all came from Ronnie's email. So please, I'm going to get better. Contact us through Facebook or emails, whatever. I will be checking it more often, and we'll try and
we will be putting more content up, because we had to do the day job.
I know. So that was great though. I love that 5 challenge.
Well done,
Gordon. We're going to go to talk about International Women's Day. Emma Anderson, After the
Yes.
interview was conducted, I said, and I do this with Gordon Dundas, and suddenly her countenance changed. Of course, she knew you, which most people in the industry did. She runs the Swedish Whisky magazine. You used to work for the Whisky magazine. Is that how you met, or what was the conversation there?
Yeah, when did I first meet her? I think I actually probably first met her when I was working at Bowmore, actually.
Okay.
And we used to do a Bowmore whiskey weekend in Sweden, which was literally about 100 people coming to a house in the middle of nowhere. And we basically poured them Bowmore for the whole weekend. And we did different classes, and we did blindfold stuff, and we did, stuff obviously rifled through a lot of wallets while people had their blindfolds on, and we did it, we poured some serious whiskey as well. It was a great event. And people loved it and paid, like £200-300 for the weekend, but they would get a wee shot of Bowmore White and things. So I met her on that, and I haven't seen her for a few years, but yeah, she's fabulous. And the magazine, I don't understand a word of it, but the pictures are nice.
Oh, yes.
And she loves her whiskey. She's always over here a bit, so we'll get her over here and have a look at our whiskies. And she's great. And it's interesting just to hear what she's going to say about the Swedish whiskey industry and things like that as well.
Totally. And it was Juliette, after you heard the interview today, I said, Juliette, we did a big Cinderella special last year, so I'm just looking for someone different, rather than just a producer. And she said, I know the exact person, Emma Anderson from Whisky Magazine. So it's a great interview, Gordon. And I would just encourage you to listen to how many people she estimates are members of Swedish whisky clubs. That's what they highlight. Here we go.
But not super. Good, but...
I didn't get a word of that. It's all Swedish to me, really. I didn't Oh, hello there. Now, we take a little walk. What's your name?
My name is Emma Anderson.
And you are?
Well, I'm the owner and the editor-in-chief of the whisky magazine Allt om Whisky, a Scandinavian whisky magazine. And today we are doing a lot more like digital stuff. And
now, what's the translation? What is it?
All about whiskey.
Ah, right. All about whiskey.
Yeah.
So you said you're into a digital translation now, yes?
We have a digital magazine as well today, and working a lot with our social media more and more, and so on. So
well, I like the whisky magazine in the UK, and so when did this all begin? When did it start? How long has the magazine been going?
20 years ago. So it was me and my dad Åke that founded the magazine.
Wow! And the reason being, just there was a gap in the market.
Well, we did have a wine magazine at that point, and I guess we were just curious and wanted to do something else at the same time. And
yes.
So we just thought it was a good idea, and we have so many whiskey clubs in Sweden,
it's
so
ridiculous.
We thought it was a good idea, and it was.
And in speaking to some of the guys that have started these original whiskey clubs, it's one of the first whisky clubs in the world. Sweden were in the mid-90s, when people were only waking up to single malt whiskey. So
I know.
Could you just explain the market in Sweden? It's a really interesting and very buoyant market.
I don't know really how to explain it, to be honest, because I don't have that much to compare it to, since this is where I live. But there are so many hardcore enthusiasts, and when it comes to the clubs, there are about 9,000 people that is involved in clubs, which is just insane. Because
I'm speaking to you because your magazine, you're in and about. Why? I mean, I'm loving the fact.
I blame the Scottish people that came over here and did a lot of great tastings and went to all of the whiskey fairs that we have here, and so I think there must be something. I don't know. There's something about the Scottish people, I guess, that has made all of the Swedish people crazy, and of course the liquid as well.
Yeah. Lots of similarities between the two nations. Magazine-wise, how do you set it out? Do you have a rough template that you try and follow every issue, or how do you do it?
No, because I'm too curious about everything when it comes to whiskey. So, we do articles about everything about whiskey, as the name say, but everything from tea. It's from all over the world, of course, but the interest started, of course, with Scottish whiskey for me, and then now, of course, I love to write about, all countries that is distilling.
What have you recently been writing about? Some of the trends that you've noticed in whiskey, either in Sweden or around the world? What's developing?
Well, actually, right now we have done a lot of articles about the Swedish distilleries, because there's quite a few here, and before maybe a lot of the Swedish consumers didn't really take notice of our own distilleries, so slowly. Yeah, Macmira was the first one.
Could you name check a few more that our listeners might not know?
High Coast, Ven, Smögen. There's plenty. Agitator, there are plenty, and a lot of things happening.
And I'd imagine when you first started the magazine with your father,
yeah,
they weren't there. And
no.
around the world there wasn't.
No.
Maybe Japan, of course America.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of competition now in Scotland.
A lot, yeah. But everyone is looking up to the Scottish whiskey, I guess, in different ways.
We're hoping it's still the benchmark.
So, yeah.
And just over the last few years, any highlights, any good articles, any good things that you were quite very proud of at Made It Magazine, just to give a flavour of what's happened in the last few years?
Well, that's a tough question, actually. I have no idea.
Quite a lot of...
Yeah, we have, and I don't know. Well, maybe it's the scholarship that we have together with. Right now is together with Anok.
Oh yes.
So this is like a travel and whiskey scholarship, and we take over 2 people, and they have this experience in Scotland for a few days and learns everything.
They get across there to do.
Yeah. So
process.
I think maybe that, because then you can also see how much it means to people to get to know.
Yes.
Whiskey more in depth.
It sounds, and just to bring us back up to date, this episode, this issue, what's in this issue?
The latest one.
Yes, the one that's, we're at the top, we're in the car deck on board Cinderella, right at the end of the Hall A. We've got a lovely stand here with all your magazines.
Well, the latest one that we're doing is about a competition that we're doing every year. That is called the Whiskey Battle Awards. So we're going to. So I guess that's a lot of interest around that, because it's quite new, just from last year. So I think people are curious about that.
And I'm just looking at you've got some issues there. So we've got Kings Barnes.
Yeah.
Talking of new distilleries around the world, there's a newish distillery.
Very.
Ardbeg in the front cover. They're just down the hall here. That's a great Whisky in Islay. So
a lot of Crazy Sweets is just
Smoke's
crazy about
peated
whiskey. It's insane, yeah. So a lot of people love that in Sweden.
I see Isle of Harris there and Glenlivet on the covers.
Yeah, so Isle of Harris, we were there, and I mean that's another great, place to visit. I mean that's different. You don't go there often.
You can see across to the Isle of Skye.
You can see across, yeah.
They got lovely stills in from Italy and make some good whiskies there as well. So, and just you've mentioned 2 places in Scotland. Any others around the world or in Scotland that you've visited that are very memorable to you? Just as somebody that knows their whiskey, if you had to say, I'm going to go right now.
Oh God, I don't know.
It's a tough question.
There's too many places, but I must say, one place that I really haven't been in a long time is Glengoyne.
Oh yes.
It's years and years ago. I do want to go back, and it's a bit of a trip up there, but I would love to go there.
So many places.
I don't know why, but it's just different.
Yeah. I'm there, close by there next month. But listen, continued success on the magazine.
Thank you very much.
It's been a wonderful. Just a quick word about the fair. What have you made?
I absolutely love this fair, because it's here. The Swedish people aren't very used to be able to buy the whiskies at the fair.
That's right.
Because you're not allowed to in Sweden. So here you can actually try and buy the whiskey at the same time.
Yeah, it's been a good festival.
So everyone loves this fair.
Well, continued success in the magazine.
Thank you very much.
Very well, and thank you for doing this, because I know it's a wee bit.
Yeah, it's a wee bit strange.
I know, but we wanted to hear about
right.
it. We wanted to hear about it. And if you want to go on, can we people go online that maybe listen to this?
Yeah.
Because we do have people in Sweden and around Europe listening to it. How
Yeah.
do we access it online?
You can always look at our website, altomwhiskey.se.
Yes.
But
And start there.
I'll send you there that address because that's in Sweden and hard to understand maybe.
Listen, thank you.
Thank you very much
for appearing on Whisky Unscripted. What a great interview. She was 20 years running that magazine. And
she's done a great job. She really has. And she's made it her own. And she's, she's great. She's brilliant. I must catch up with her. I've not seen her in ages.
Right, we're coming to the very end, Gordon. A couple of things. Dunnage warehouses. We're doing a Casks Unlocked at Glengoyne, where if you are one of, I think, 12 lucky people, you can apply
from the club, from the Glengoyne family.
And get inside the Dunnage warehouse with ourselves to choose a single cask that will be released. How exciting. And I just thought, you must have had a few lovely experiences walking around Dunnage warehouses in this country and abroad, and I certainly have. Sandy McIntyre, who we must get back on the show from Tamdhu, his tour of his Dunnage warehouses in Tamdhu takes some beating. But I don't know if you've...
Oh, no, for sure.
Don't know if you've been somewhere else.
Oh, I've been in quite a lot of Dunnage warehouses, if I'm honest, and I've been very lucky to have been in some amazing Dunnage warehouses. I mean, they're not all the same. They are all different. They are all leaving a lasting sort of memory of smells and cobwebs and wood and that sort of slightly damp, musty smell.
And there's nothing like getting a dram from the cask. I seem to remember we got a lovely wee sample of an Octomore when we get shown round Bruichladdich.
We did, yeah, we did. Yes, we were in the warehouses at Bruichladdich, we were in the warehouses at Lefroy, we were in the warehouses at Bowmore. Yeah, not bad. Not a bad trip, that one.
That was lovely.
So no, I love going into warehouses. If you get the chance to do it at distilleries, it's always something to behold and enjoy. So Casks Unlocked will let us do that this year, and that's a really good thing. That's happening, I think, at the end of April.
Yes.
But I think it's been heavily oversubscribed. Obviously, these sort of things are. There's no other people. I'm speaking to people about ballots. They're not big fans of ballots, but what's the other way that makes it fair?
How else do you do it, Gordon? I don't know how else to do it. Listen,
because then anyway, we're excited to do that because Casks Unlocked is taking what we did. If anybody remembers or anybody watched during that lockdown, we did an online event called Casks Unlocked, where we again selected a cask. We had Blair Bowman, I think, was there. We had I think Christopher from Whiskey Magazine, and we had it was about 4 or 5. Just brilliant event, and a particular cask won, which sold out in about 3 seconds in the end. But we're sort of doing that now live, that's going to be at the end of April.
So you're not in a Zoom call, you're actually in the Dunnage warehouse, and then you're doing some tastings. It's going to be sensational, but that's great. Just some of the stories of Dunnage warehouses. And the reason I asked is because if you want to play You've Arrived at Your Destination, you could go to this destination's Dunnage warehouse and have a walk around. Are you up for the challenge?
Oh, I'm up for the challenge.
Now, I tried to get a computer voice to read this, but I could not do it. So you have arrived at your whiskey destination is a game where I go to a website of a distillery, contact us, and I just cut and paste the details of how to get there. In this case, Gordon, from central Glasgow. Head on to the M8. This is a difficult one. You exit 13 onto the M80 towards Kincardine Bridge in Stirling. Keep on straight to the M9 for 53 miles. At the roundabout, take the first exit for A9. So far, so good. Keep on the A9, 83.7 miles. You then turn right onto the A95. That's the big one. For 11.7 miles. At the roundabout, take the first exit for the B9102. Keep straight. Get onto the A939 High Street. Bear right onto the A940. 13 miles. Go through 3 roundabouts. Turn left onto the A96. That's the main road up there, and a major conurbation. You turn left, then right to Waterford Road. The postcode is IV36 3EB, and you have arrived at your whiskey destination. That's a tricky one.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
A96 goes through one of the major towns up there. IV363EB. And my clue would be it is connected to the Speyside Festival because we were there in a marquee in its car park.
I thought it was this one, actually. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, I've just seen that.
I think it's part of the Red Chimney Brigade.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's got a brand new sister distillery in Granton-on-Spey, and I think it's called Ben Romack.
It is Ben Romack. Well done. I didn't want to say the word Elgin in case I gave the game away.
No, I was thinking Glenglassaugh. I was thinking of that sort of area, and then I was like, if you go any further, you become Aberdeen. Yes, thanks for the clue. Did just confirm it, but I did have a thinking. I was going to go for Ben Romack.
The Red Chimney Brigade. I like that. So,
well, that's what it's
Gordon, a quick word about Ben Romack, Gordon and MacPhail, which ties it in with Juliette Buchan. We heard earlier on today. Came from Gordon.
Yeah, beautiful little distillery, Ben Romack. It's I've not actually had a tour for ages. It's not that big. But no, it's a lovely distillery. I love what they're doing with it. And Keith is their Keith Cruikshank is their distillery manager. Keith's hilarious. I really enjoy spending time with Keith. He's quite quiet but very funny man. So yes, as ever, yeah, and that's the best thing. You're always welcome in these places. So.
And just the whiskey I was drinking tonight was a Caol Ila, very smoky. And Ben Romack brought the smoke back to Speyside. It's one of their strap lines. They decided this was what Speyside whiskey used to taste like before the race. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of Speyside whiskies were peated for a long time because it suited them selling it into blenders because blenders wanted that sort of style. So it wasn't particularly for any other reason that they wanted to produce something that people wanted to buy. So, historically, peat, there's a lot of peat up there as well. Of course, different peat to Islay, but they produce some good stuff. Ben Romack, they also do, they've had a repack in the last couple of years. They do an organic one, I think, as well. So, love what they do, and lovely people as well. Good friend of mine is the brand home manager, so the equivalent of Juliette, which it's good fun up there. Really good.
I think we interviewed her a couple of episodes ago. And just before we head to the end, Gordon, just some of the we will be doing. So you will be at the Fresh Shield, we will be at the Space Festival. We'll get interviews up there as well. And we are plotting a Rosebank special. We can be in amongst it like no other podcast or media.
Absolutely.
Outlet. And I'm hoping, Gordon, we can do a real cracking special from all angles of Rosebank.
Well, we were at the distillery a couple of weeks ago. We were doing a training session. The distillery is looking fabulous. It is pretty much ready to open. We're just waiting on that car park. You will be hearing about when you can book tours in the very, very near future. Best way to keep up to date, join that Rosebank Club on the website. So the revival. Join that and you can get all the latest information, but we're very, very close to opening to the public.
I was on the Falkirk Whisky Forum or something a couple of days ago, and people just saying how nice it was that Rosebank are putting a ballot out. There we go, that word again, putting a ballot out to the local postcodes to locals to enter, and if you get your name drawn out, you come to Rosebank before the public get in.
Absolutely, it's lovely.
Very well.
Because, as we know, it's hugely important to the local community. They're all very proud of it, and we're just dead excited to get open and up and running. And I think midsummer is our time. We'll be good to go. So, you want to go and get a tour of Rosebank? You'll be hearing all about it very shortly.
Gordon, I think that's. Thank you to Juliette Buchan. Thank you to Emma Anderson of the Swedish Whisky Magazine. Thank you to you for winning all the challenges this week and. Enjoying the whiskey. 6 whiskies, and you got Ben Romack. Another 10 out of 10. Gordon.
Oh, well, lucky. Thank you.
We will be back sooner than we were the last time. Episode 3 coming soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Posting ahead on the whiskey trail.